I'm Shanilka, by the way. Okay, those who come into my classes know about me. If you are new, well, I'm Shanilka Perera, and I'll be your host today. Okay, for the BL1 lecture on this business law. Right now, what you have to understand here is for this subject, of course, now we'll be discussing. I'll be explaining to you or discussing with you the most important areas. Okay, but you have to remember one thing, right? And that is certain areas, right? There are certain areas that we cannot skip at all. For example, now let me share with you a small document, right? I'm going to share with you the weightage of each area. Okay. Now, if you see this, I hope you all can see this, right? Now, normally the first, the introduction to law part, okay, I would recommend you all to study that at the last, okay, maybe, few days before the exam, right? You don't have to start from that. If you have already studied that, it's okay. But my advice for you would be to start studying from the law of contract, okay? Because law of contract and sale of goods ordinance, all right, have a huge percentage of questions. It could be around 8 to 10 questions. Now, your exam consists of around 50 questions, right? You will only be given 2 hours, okay? So within these 2 hours, you have to write 50 questions, and the marks will be around 100 marks, right? Total 100 marks. Out of the 50 questions, at least definitely more than 5, I would say. Okay, definitely there will be more than 5 questions from contract law and from sale of goods ordinance as well, right? It can be 5, it can be 10, it depends, right? Certain my students have told, like, certain exams, there were around 10 questions from contract, maybe 8 questions around sale of goods ordinance, right? So please remember that you have to show more weightage when you are studying. Focus more on law of contract and sale of goods, right? That's my first advice. Now, is that enough? No, not really. Okay, because now if you can see here, law of agency and partnership has the next biggest percentages, right? The weightage is over 10%, right? So definitely law of contract, sale of goods ordinance, agency and partnership, right? These 4 areas definitely will come. There'll be definite questions, right? And then negotiable instruments, right? So that is how you should start studying: contract law, sale of goods ordinance, agency, partnership, negotiable instruments. Once you have done those 5, well, you can do the rest, the balance of the syllabus the way you want. Okay, you can study. I don't recommend you to skip any area. You need to study and you need to go through the full areas. Okay, because if you are planning to skip any area, trust me, you will lose marks in vain, right? Because this is an exam, and even chartered themselves, the institute themselves recommend that you do not skip any areas. Okay, unlike in writing, you have MCQ questions, right? So if you skip any areas, it will be a huge disadvantage for you, because they might ask you questions from maybe anti-money laundering, okay, alternate dispute resolution. Now, if you don't know the answers for this, in vain, right? If you had, because these are very easy areas, right? Okay, so the easy areas are anti-money laundering, ADR, okay, international trade, securities regime, right? Even offenses related to business environment, right? These areas are not that difficult, okay? The important ones though are contract law, sale of goods ordinance, law of agency, partnership, and negotiable instruments, right? So you need to go through these 5 definitely. Once you go through these 5, focus on the rest of the syllabus. Okay, right. Today we're going to discuss about the revision kit as well, right? I'm going to go through some questions in the revision kit that's also given by the Chartered Institute, right? If you all have any issues, right, you can talk to me. But now, with the given time, right, and with the necessary time for explanations also, I'll be focusing more on law of contracts and sale of goods. That is my focus areas. And if we do have time, let's go and check on law of agency and partnership. But this revision kit, I'll be starting it. Okay, when I start it, I'll be focusing on, for you as a help for you all, the law of contract and sale of goods mainly. Anything that we might not be doing today, right? I'll be giving you my details, contact details, and all the necessary details to contact me. You have to complete the revision kit, right? You have to complete the revision kit, and of course there are answers in the revision kit as well. Do not check the answers, right? I want you to study and then do the revision kit. Now let's say you have a question of why the answer B is the correct answer. Marking scheme says answer B is correct. So let's say you have a question, now you can contact me, right? So that is why I'm here, right? I'll be available until your exams are over. You can contact me at any time you want, and remind me, I'll send you the contact details as well. Okay, fine. So I hope you all are clear of this idea. Remember, contract law, sale of goods ordinance, law of agency, partnership, and negotiable instrument. These 5 are mandatory. You need to have a thorough understanding of these 5, right? Now, are those 5 enough? No, not definitely not. But you need to have a thorough idea of those 5, like 100%, right? Once you are good with those 5, then move on to study the rest, right? Then there are, the balance, I would say, international trade, securities regime, ADR, anti-money laundering, definitely labor law and insurance, right? So these ones you can focus on later after studying the first 5 that I told. Okay, right. Now, just for you to have a small heads up, right? Small techniques. Now, when you have 50 questions, you need to allocate your time, right? Time allocation and time management is crucial in your exam, right? That is why you need to practice questions before you go to the exam. Please practice a lot of questions, time yourself. Keep 2 hours, okay? I'm pretty sure you can find 2 hours from your life. Find 2 hours, right? Study well before that, okay? Definitely study before that, and do maybe a model paper, right? Or do this revision kit, right? Within 2 hours. This revision kit, of course, will take you more than 2 hours, but maybe one chapter, try to finish one chapter within, if they are like, contract law has around 20 questions, right? Maybe around 40 minutes, try to finish that questions, okay? So you need to time yourself, like how fast you can do. Now, normally you have to spend on average, you have to spend 2.4 minutes per question. But that doesn't mean you need to spend only that much amount of time. Some questions will require you to spend maybe even 5 minutes, right? It's fine, it's okay. But the thing is, you have to catch up that time. If you are going to spend 5 minutes on one question, then maybe another question, you cannot spend even 1 minute, maybe 10 seconds, you have to move on. Okay, so remember that every time you take more than 2 minutes for a question, you will have to catch up with that at the later end of the questions. Okay, but normally contract law questions and sale of goods questions will be around between I would say between 10 to 30. Depends. Okay, I can't guarantee. It can be between 10 to between questions number 10 to question number 30, right? So make sure that you do at least the first 10 questions. Okay, within the first 10 minutes if possible, right? I would say like around 1 minute. At least with the maximum time for the first 10 questions is 20 minutes. Okay, do not spend more than that, right? So for a question that would be around 2 minutes. I wouldn't say for you to exceed more than 2 minutes for a question. That is why it's necessary that you know all about in the syllabus, and that you have revised and gone through all the things in the syllabus, because otherwise if you do not know a question, you do not know the answer. Okay, if you do not know a question, it's okay, skip it and go for the next one, it's fine, right? But remember to come back and attempt it later, right? Don't spend too much time. If you don't know the answer, you don't know the answer. If you know the answer, you know the answer. If you are not sure about an answer, maybe you kind of remember it but not sure, then okay, then take around 2 minutes and try it out, right? Maybe put a question mark, or just make a note of it, right? If you're doing it online, then make sure that you come back. Okay, first of all, answer the questions that you definitely know. Okay, that's the trick, right? Because then you won't spend too much time on one question. So definitely answer all the questions that you definitely know. That's rule number 1. Then come back and check for answers that you might know. Second step is you try to answer questions that you have 50-50 chance you know the answer also, but you're not sure. Okay, thereafter third step is to try your luck for the answers that you do not know. If you do not know the answer, you definitely don't know. Maybe you didn't study that area, unluckily, right? So then you need a bit of luck, right? So don't leave anything for luck. That's why we say, right, study now itself, right? Study all the things. Okay. And one more thing, you have to read the question very carefully. Now, when we are doing some questions, you will realize that certain answers might be really easy. It seems as if it is the real answer, But if you read the question, and also you need to read the answers properly as well, because the question and the answer should match. There are certain questions and the answer may seem, let's say, C, but C is talking about only one aspect. B might be another different answer. You need to be able to read both question and both the answers clearly. You need to clearly see each and every word. Even a small word matters, right? For example, words like only, right? Shall, have, okay, those words matter. Okay, so let's without any delay, let's go to this revision kit. Okay, and let me take the questions. Right. Now, just to start things off, right? Now, this is from chapter 1. Okay, now if you take chapter 1, this is about introduction to law, and it's a very easy area. This area I would recommend you to study at the last, right? You don't have to study this first, right? Now, for your reference, I'll quickly give you an idea about the main ideas of the answers, right? Now, if you take the first one, the answer is Supreme Court. Why? Because Supreme Court only has a power. Anything regarding with the Constitution, it's a Supreme Court. Okay, anything to do with the Constitution, remember Supreme Court. Okay, so that's why first one is the answer is Supreme Court, not Court of Appeal, not Commercial High Court, and not High Court definitely. Okay, anything to do with the Constitution and anything to do with the bill of a Parliament. Okay, Supreme Court. And question number 2: the following statements are in relation to the powers or jurisdiction of the Provincial High Court. Now, in here, remember with the High Court of the Provinces Act, there's an act called High Court of the Provinces. According to that, the first 3, that would be 1, 2, and 3. Okay, all these, right? This is also correct, this is also correct, this is also correct. Now we have to see whether these 3 answers are there in any of the answers given. If you see only one, A says only 1 and 2. No, all 3 are correct. Only 2 and 4. No, only 1, 2, and 3. So therefore C is the answer. Okay. The Provincial High Court does not have the power to try petitions, because petitions regarding the presidential election are with the Supreme Court. Okay, that the jurisdiction to hear petitions regarding the presidential election is with the Supreme Court and not with the Provincial High Court. But all the first 3 are with the Provincial High Court. Okay. Right. Which one of the following is correct in relation to commercial law applicable in Sri Lanka? Well, if you take question number 3, in Sri Lanka, any area of commercial law which is not covered by English law is covered by Roman Dutch law. Now here see, they ask which of the following is correct. The word correct is given. If they have asked incorrect, then you have to understand, okay, what is incorrect one? Okay, so you have to read the question very carefully. And here in relation to commercial law, okay, not the domestic law, not any other law, just simply commercial law. Okay, commercial law affects the rights, duties, and obligations of only incorporated companies involved in commerce and trade. No, commercial law affects all contracts that are regarding trade, not only incorporated companies. See, that is why you have to read the question also and the answer properly as well. Because in the first answer itself, it says only incorporated companies. No. Commercial law affects all the contracts, all commercial contracts. It can be sole trader, partnership. It can be unlimited companies, not only incorporated companies. Okay, can be any other companies as well. In Sri Lanka, any area of commercial law which is not covered by English law is covered by Roman Dutch law. Now that is of course true, right? In Sri Lanka, if there's an area that is not governed by commercial law, then that area is governed by Roman Dutch law. Commercial law applicable in Sri Lanka is purely based on the principles of Roman Dutch law. No, this is wrong. Right? This is an incorrect statement. In Sri Lanka, legal action for all commercial disputes must be filed at the Commercial High Court. No, this is also wrong. Commercial High Court can only hear matters that are above 50 million. It should the contract should have been in the Western Province, and it should be a commercial matter. If all 3 are there, then of course you can file actions in the Commercial High Court. But if not, it goes to the District Court. So it says here it says all commercial disputes. Wrong, not all commercial disputes, only a few. Okay, right. So likewise, you need to understand the question as well as the answer properly. You need to read it carefully, right? Because if you don't read it carefully, finish, right? In vain, your marks, right? So you need to understand, right? Now you don't have to be scared, but that is why we have to practice a lot, right? You study and you have to practice a lot. This is the reason, right? Okay. Then fourth one, okay? Fourth one says Sri Lankan legal system is based on the rule of law. The rule of law consists of certain tenets or principles. Which of the following is correct in relation to these tenets or principles? The law is supreme and there is no place for arbitrary power in society. The law is supreme and there is no place for arbitrary power in society. Yeah, it's a possible answer. Maybe we can put a question mark. Okay, it's a possible answer. Let's see the rest from Sankam. Okay, all resident citizens of Sri Lanka equal before the law. All resident citizens, right? It says the word resident citizens. No, all citizens, not resident citizens. Any citizen is equal before the law. Even let's say a foreigner comes, then even that person is equal before the law. We can't treat him differently just because he's a foreigner, right? Even he's not special. He's also equal before the law. Equal in the sense, the way I treat you, I will treat the foreigner also. But here they have used the word resident. Resident means only Sri Lankans. Okay? No. Even foreigners are equal before the law in Sri Lanka. The rights of citizens are enforceable only in certain courts. The rights of citizens are enforceable only in certain courts. Okay, I think it's a small issue in here, but only in certain courts. No. Fundamental rights is exercised by the Supreme Court, not in any other court, right? So the third one is not a possible answer. The person can be convicted without being heard under special circumstances. No, wrong. These two are wrong. Okay, and even second one is wrong. So then we had a question of where the first one is the answer. Now as we have eliminated, but what did I do now? If you are not sure about the answer, you can put a question mark. You can have a question in my mind. This might be a possible answer. Read the rest of the answers also. If you can eliminate the answers, whatever remaining is the answer. If you definitely know this won't be the answer. Third one is never the answer. Fourth one cannot be the answer. Then what is remaining? That one which you had in question. The law is supreme and there is no place for arbitrary power in society. Correct. Right. So this question we can turn it to an answer then. Okay. So why did we choose the first one as the answer? Right. So this statement is very, very broad. It might be correct, might be wrong, but we have to see the other statements. So we check the other statements. Other statements are actually definitely wrong. It's very specifically wrong. Because it's specifically wrong, the remaining one we can choose as the answer. Okay, so that's one method of answering an MCQ. Okay, right. Fifth one. The following statements are in relation to Institute Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka. Right. Actually, it's about the Chartered Institute, right? If you know the duties of the Chartered Institute, it's actually CA in Sri Lanka was established under the Old Companies Act. No, not really. Right. There's a separate act for institutions. Okay, so it's not this. It's not the first one. This is wrong. It is responsible for the regulation of auditing and yeah, definitely. Setting of accounting and auditing standards in Sri Lanka is done by CA Sri Lanka. Yes. It is responsible for the control and maintenance of professional standards. Definitely yes. So three answers are correct, but the first one is wrong. Right. So we have to see whether they have given these answers. Right. Which of the above statements are correct? See the word. Okay. Above statements are correct. See, now I have put ticks 3 correct. That means 2, 3, and 4. Let's see whether 2, 3, and 4 are here. Yes. B. So B is the answer. Okay. Only 2, 3, and 4. Okay. If you do have questions, ask. Okay. Let's go to the 6th one. The following statements are relating to the matters on which Supreme Court of the Democratic Social Republic of Sri Lanka can exercise its jurisdiction. No. Supreme Court. That means powers of the Supreme Court. They are asking. I told the first it's a constitutional matters. Definitely yes. When I start itself, I told Supreme Court has a power on constitution. Anything regarding the constitution, Supreme Court. Protection of fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are in the constitution. Therefore, Supreme Court. Final appellate jurisdiction on both civil and criminal matters. Definitely yes. Okay. Matters relating to granting of writs and habeas corpus. Actually, this is under the Court of Appeal. Fourth one is under Court of Appeal, not to the Supreme Court. So our first, second and three are correct. Let's see whether we have answer like that. Okay, only 1, 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3. Yes, correct. Okay. So see how I found out the answer. Now understand, this is because I simply have the knowledge. Right now, if you have studied, you also can apply this. Right. So it's just a matter of applying the knowledge that you have learned. Okay. So make sure that you revise and go through the syllabus well. Okay. Seventh one. Of the following statements are relating to the regulated role and functions of Sri Lanka customs. Well, remember when it comes to customs, okay, students, now they have given 4 answers and they are telling, 1 and 2, only 1 and 2 and 3, only 2 and 4, only 3, right? When it comes to customs, they don't encourage exports and, about foreign exchange. That's not up to them. They don't encourage increase of non-traditional exports also. That's not their duty. But see this third one. To exercise limited police powers such as arresting suspects and confiscating contraband. Contraband means something illegal, anything illegal that is brought to Sri Lanka. To promote Sri Lanka as a trading hub, that is not their duty. Okay, there are other institutions for that, right? So technically, first one, second one, and fourth one are wrong. The only possible answer is number 3. See whether we have an answer like that. If you go to question number 7, yes. Sorry. Right, if you go to question number, this is the most possible, number 3 is the most possible answer. Okay, this was our most possible answer. These 3 were not correct. Which of the above statement is or are correct? Right, now we have identified 3 is correct. Yeah, only 3. So that would be D would make it the answer. Only 3. Only the third. Okay. So sometimes remember you might have to eliminate the answers to find the correct one. Or maybe sometimes you have to find all the correct answers and identify which is incorrect. Okay. 8th one. Which of the statement is most accurate? Now here see the word, okay. Most accurate. That means there can be statements which are correct. But out of those statements, which is most correct? Okay. Right. Now it's a general question, I would say, to a certain extent, right? The world is subject to rapid changes due to human activities, but there are hardly any changes to the existing laws. No. It might be correct, right? Now, if you take this one, this might be correct to a certain extent. This might be correct to a certain extent. The world is changing, right? There are hardly any changes to existing laws. It might be arguably correct, but we have to find out most accurate, not simply the correct one, the most accurate. Sometimes societies in modern world assume that a violation of the law should be treated as punishable only if such violation relates to a criminal offense. Again, it's hypothetical. It might be correct, might be wrong. So it's arguable, right? Still not the most accurate, right? It's correct to a certain extent only. There's a presumption in society that every person knows the law. Therefore, ignoring or breaking the law is not an excuse to anyone. Now this might be a possible answer. See, now there's a saying, no, if you can't, there's no excuse. You can't escape the law saying, if you let's say committed a crime, can you say I didn't know the law? No, you can't. Your ignorance of the law is not an excuse. It's not a defense. Right? So this seems to be a very valid point. Valid, it's an accurate statement. Let's check the D1 also and come. Okay. Although law is a very important part of any society, it is seen that underdeveloped societies ignore the law the most. Not true, right? Because sometimes, if you take this France, UK, USA, even their crime is happening. Okay. They have law, but still crime happens, right? Not only in underdeveloped societies, even developed societies have crime. So this one is wrong. So the most possible answer is C. The most accurate would be C. Okay. The most accurate. Others are also correct to a certain extent, but the most accurate is C. Right? Okay, now let's move on to contract law. Right? Now, remember students, when we are discussing the contract law, if you do have any questions, clarify and go. It's fine. You can ask me the question in this area. Okay. Right. The following statements are in relation to the ways of forming a legally valid contract. Now, what are the ways to make a contract? It can be made orally, in writing, and by implied conduct, right? And now see these ones. Okay, these are the answers. Now they are saying the correct ones would be only 1 and 2, only 1 and 3, only 2 and 4, only 3 and 2 and 4, and only 3 and 4, right? But when it comes to this one, there's a small slight, you see, very small word itself will make the whole difference. Can it be made an oral agreement? Yes, you can, talk to someone and make an agreement. Okay, so this is correct. It can be made only in writing. See the word, see the trick here. Now you know it can be made in writing, by orally, in writing, and by implication. You know these three. This is the way, this is how you can form a legally valid contract. But the problem is what? See the question, the answer they have given, it can be made only in writing. No, it can be made orally also, it can be made by implied conduct also. Not only in writing. By writing is only one method, but it's not the only method, okay? By writing is one of the methods to form a contract, but it is not the only method, right? So second answer cannot be, second one cannot be the answer. Why? It has the word only in writing. No, it's one of the, writing is one of the methods. It can be made by implied conduct. Yes, definitely. It can be made by implied conduct. It must be made through a court order. Not really. You don't need a court order to make a contract. So we have identified 1 and 3 is the answer. Let's see whether it's there in the correct ones. Only 1 and 2. 1 and 3. We have to find 1 and 3 here. B. 1 and 3. Okay. Second one. The following are relating to the requirements of elements which must be present for a contract to be treated as a valid contract in law. That now here they are talking about the elements of contract. For a contract to be valid, what do you need? You need offer, acceptance, and then you need this intention. Okay, offer, acceptance, consideration, intention, capacity of the parties, intention, genuineness of the consent. Okay, so all these things are necessary, right? Now let's see what they have given. The offerer must at all times be over 18 years of age. Not necessarily, even young ones below 18 minors can make a contract if they are assisted by a guardian. So therefore, must at all times, not necessarily. Okay, must at all times is wrong. Okay, maybe certain instances, yes, not all time. Okay, there should be a valid offer and acceptance. Yes, that you know. There should be a valid offer and acceptance. The parties must have an intention to create legally binding relations. Yes, of course. You need to have, intention to create a legally binding relationship. It is not mandatory for a contract to always have a lawful of no. It is mandatory. It should be legal. If a contract is not legal, then what happens? Then that cannot be enforced in a court of law. It's not a valid contract. It is not mandatory. They are saying it is not essential for it to be legal, not mandatory. No, it's wrong. It should always be mandatory. It is mandatory that the contract be a legal contract. Legal contract in the sense lawful objective. Right? I can't have a contract with you to go and rob a bank or something. Right? That's illegal. Even though we have a contract, it's an illegal contract. Right? So the objective should be lawful all the time. That's one of the elements. Okay. So 2 and 3 are the answers. So yeah, so correct answer would be A then. Only 2 and 3. Right? Then third one. Invitation to trade. Right? Is it another term for an offer? No. Invitation to trade is a something. Invitation to trade is something else. Offer is something else. So it's not another term. So therefore this is wrong. It is merely an invitation to the public to make an offer. Maybe to a certain extent I can agree. Right? It might be. Right? To a certain extent, yes. It's an invitation to the public. You can make an offer when you act on an invitation to trade. Yeah. If I made an invitation to trade, right, you can make me an offer. So you make an offer when you act on an invitation to trade. So if you are acting on my invitation to trade, what you are doing is you are making me an offer. Okay. An advertisement is an invitation to treat. Definitely yes. Remember, advertisements are invitations to treat. That is what law considers nowadays. Okay, so we have three correct, three yeses and one no. First one is wrong. So answer is 2, 3, and 4 correct. Only 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, we have the answer here. D. Only 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Fourth one. Which of the following most accurately describes the main principles discussed in the case Carlyle versus Carbolic Smoke Ball Company? What happened in this case was that the courts decided that an offer can be made to the world at large. That's the judgment. Okay, this case decided that the offer can be made to the world at large. Right now, it describes the postal rule of acceptance. No, not about acceptance. About the offer being made to the world at large. Yes. It specifies the capacity of the parties to contract. No. It is about the intention of the parties. No. It is about an offer made to the world at large. They are saying if you make an offer, remember, offer can be made to one person, okay, to a group of persons, or even to the world at large. Get a call if you students, if you do have any questions, do send in the message, okay, the chat in the Zoom, okay. Right. Sorry about that. Okay. Moving on to the fifth one. Medi Research Limited puts a newspaper advertisement offering to pay a reward of 100,000 to anyone who contracts influenza after using their unique medical product, never seek as prescribed. Now here, this is actually about Carlyle versus Carbolic Smoke Ball Company. Okay, same facts, like different words, different names. Okay, but something similar. This is an offer. Now, if you know this one, fourth one we identified. Carlyle versus Carbolic Smoke Ball Company case, I said that it is about an offer made to the world at large. Now, this one also, they are also doing the same thing. Here, they are putting a newspaper advertisement, which goes to the world. Okay, and they are giving a reward. Right. Okay. So is this made to one person when you put it in a newspaper? No. Is it made to a certain class of people? No. Right. Made to no one particular? No. It made to the world at large. Okay. So answer is 2. Made to the world at large. Okay. The sixth one. Right. X and Y are partners of XY Enterprises, which engages in buying and selling second-hand cars. Okay. Now, Kamal, okay, who wished to buy a Honda CRV 2018 model car, visited XY Enterprises and inquired about the price from X. X quoted a price of 5 million. In this scenario, the offer would be XY Enterprises. The offerer, my bad. The offerer. Offer A is here. Kamal visited XY Enterprises. Simple. Kamal visited XY Enterprises, the shop. X is who? X is the employee of XYZ or XY Enterprises, or rather the partner. Okay. When Kamal is going to the shop, he is going to the shop. So in XY Enterprise, that means simply X. Okay. Remember, X on behalf of XY Enterprise makes the offer. So offer is XY Enterprise. Okay. Partners are agents. Right. So in here, the offer is XY Enterprise. Okay. This is the answer. Shaima engages in buying and selling garments. Varuni, who wished to buy a wedding dress, inquired one from S. S quoted a price of 25,000 for it. We said that she is ready to buy it for 20,000. Right. Now she has made a count offer technically. Okay. The offer made by S has been accepted by V. No. When you make a count offer, remember there's no acceptance. It's rejection of the offer. V has made a count offer. Yeah. V has made a count offer. There is no valid offer in this scenario. There is a valid offer to a certain extent, I would say. There is no valid offer in this scenario. It's quoted a price of 25,000 for it. Sorry, my bad. Now here, the word is quoted, okay? Quoted means it's putting the price tag. It's an invitation to trade, not an offer. When you have a price tag in a shop or in a whatever the dress, It's an invitation to offer or invitation to treat and not an offer. Okay. Offer happens when B goes and, gives the dress to the counter. Okay. So therefore, there is no valid offer in this scenario. Yeah. There's no valid offer. Why? Because it's an invitation to trade. S is quoting the price only. Yeah? So he's not, S is not, Shaimi is not trying to offer it. V is trying to, come and, make a count offer. We has made a count offer. Okay. A valid contract has been formed between S and B. No, there's no valid contract. Why? There's no acceptance anywhere. Okay. So answers are so far 2 and 3. Let's see what are the possible answers that they have given. 1 and 2, 1 and 4, 2 and 3. Yeah, we have that. Yeah, only 2 and 3. Okay. Right. The next one. The following statements are in relation to acceptance in a postal contract. Remember, postal rule. The moment you put the letter into the post box, acceptance letter. Okay. Let's say I have made offer to you. I'm telling you, look here, please send you acceptance letter by the post. The moment you put your letter into the post box, okay, it doesn't matter whether it's received by me or not. Maybe the mailman lost it. Okay, that doesn't matter. What matters is whether did you put the letter into the post box. If you did, then acceptance is from that day, not from the day that it was received by me. Whether I received the letter or not doesn't matter. Okay, why? I mean, the date I received the letter doesn't matter. Okay, what matters is the date that you put the letter into the mailbox. Okay, that is called the postal rule. So in acceptance, the moment you put the letter of acceptance into the post box, that date is the date of acceptance and not the date it was received by me. Okay, so that's called a postal rule. An offer which comes by post must always be accepted by post in order to constitute a valid accept. Not necessarily, right? If I send you an offer by a post, you can reply to me by a telegram also, unless I have specifically told. Okay, but it says must always be, not necessarily. Okay, doesn't have to be always, right? And the mere posting of the letter of acceptance by the offeree amounts to valid acceptance. Yes, I told you the moment you put it into the box is acceptance. The letter of acceptance which is put to the post must reach the offerer for it to be a valid acceptance. Okay, the letter of acceptance which is put to the post must reach the offerer. No, doesn't have to be reaching the offer. Okay, this is wrong. If the letter of acceptance is properly addressed and stamped but gets lost in the post, it still amounts to valid acceptance. Yes, postal rule says the moment you put into the box. So possible the answers we have are 2 and 4. Do we have 2 and 4? Yeah. See. Only 2 and 4. Okay. Freddie wrote to Barry B offering to buy B's car and saying that if I hear no more about this offer, I shall consider that the car is mine for 1.5 million. B did not respond, but verbally told his auctioneer that B's car has been sold to F and therefore not to sell it through the auction. But by mistake, this car was sold to another person through the auction. Thereafter, F sued B, saying that the car belongs to F. Now remember, in here, what has happened, Freddie is there, he is writing to Barry. Freddie is offering, F is offering to B to offer to buy to B's car. Okay. And he's saying, if I hear no more about this offer, I shall consider that the car is mine for 1.5 million. D did not respond. That means he was silent, but verbally told his auctioneer that B's car has been sold to F. Okay. And therefore, not to sell it through the auction. But by mistake, this car was sold to another person through the auction. Remember, in the auction, if it is sold, it's sold. Okay, then now F should be saying that car belongs to F. Remember, B never communicated his acceptance to F. B never told that he accepts F's offer. So in here, the silence of B to F's offer is not treated as a valid acceptance. Yes, remember, silence does not amount to acceptance. If let's say you made offer to me, I didn't tell you anything about it. I didn't say yes, I didn't say no. I was just silent. My silence doesn't amount to acceptance of the offer. Okay. Right. So this is correct. As the car belonged to F, he has the right to sue B. No, car didn't belong to F. Car belonged to B. F is the one who made the offer. As B accepted the F's offer, B did not accept F's offer. Okay, B did not accept, no, he didn't respond to it. F's letter to B cannot be treated as a valid offer. F's letter to B cannot be treated as a valid offer. Yeah, because it's vague. Okay, even though he in his writing it says if you do like this, it is considered as an offer. No, right? It's not an offer letter. It's simply a very vague letter. Okay, it's simply a letter, not an offer actually. Okay, so it's not a valid offer. Right? So only answer is one. Okay, first one is answer. Right. The statement below are relating to the different ways an offer can be terminated. By acceptance of the offer, yeah, you can terminate offer by accepting. That means once I accept your offer, that offer is gone. Okay, you can't make it to anyone else. By making a count of offer can be terminated. By the breach of a warranty. No, warranty is breach when you make the contract, not when you breach an offer. Okay, the word here is offer, not the contract. Offer, acceptance, and with all the other elements you get a contract. And if a contract, there are two terms, conditions and warranties. Okay, by the revocation of the offer. Yeah, so technically 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. So answer would be C there. Okay, by the breach of a warranty means when you breach a warranty after making the contract. Yeah, here the contract has not yet been made. Here only about this or in the offering and acceptance stages yet. Right. Then 11th one. On the occurrence of certain events, an offer will lapse. Given below are some of these events. When the offerer dies before the offer is accepted, yeah, if before the offer is accepted, if the offerer dies, offer might lapse. Lapse means expire. Okay. So technically, first one is correct. When the offeree dies after the offer is accepted, no. When the offeree does not accept the offer within the prescribed time period, yeah. If I give you 7 days to accept my offer, you have to accept within 7 days. If you don't do it, it's expired. When the offerer goes bankrupt before the offer is accepted, no. Even if the offer is bankrupt, you can still accept the offer. That won't be off because when he made the offer, he was he was solvent, right? That means he was not bankrupt when he made the offer. Okay. After he make the offer, if he goes bankrupt, it's not an issue. Okay. So we have 1 and 3, right? Yes. Only 1 and 3. Okay. Well, he posted a letter to Q on 1st October, offering to sell some goods. Q received this letter on 11th. Now this is about again acceptance. Okay. See how many questions are on contract, right? There are many. Q received this letter on 11th October and immediately telegraphed his acceptance. Now the dates are important. He posted on 1st October, offering to sell some goods. Q received on 11th October after 10 days. On the 11th itself, he telegraphed his acceptance. That means he communicated his acceptance on the 11th of October. On 8th October, he posted another letter to Q, revoking his earlier offer. And this letter was received by Q on the 20th of October. That means on the 8th, P again wrote, look here, the previous offer that I sent to you, I'm taking it back. I'm not offering. But the problem is, Q received that revocation of the offer letter only on the 20th. Now let's see what are the correct statements. The valid contract had been formed between P and Q. To a certain extent, yes. Why? Because Q accepted immediately when he received it. But because at the time of him accepting, remember, by the time of him accepting the first letter, he had not yet received the second letter. So therefore, technically, he can accept. Okay. So there is a valid contract between P and Q. The acceptance of P's of on 8th October amounts to valid acceptance. Yeah. Hold on. The acceptance of P's offer. Yeah. On 8th October amounts to valid acceptance. On 8th October. But however, P's offer has been, this is a question mark. Okay. Might be a possible answer. P's offer has been properly revoked on the 20th October. No, he revoked off on 8th October. So therefore, this is not an answer. No acceptance can be made on a revoked offer. No acceptance can be made on a revoked offer. Technically, yes. No acceptance can be made on a revoked offer. Yeah. Now, in here, what has happened is he has accepted even though he remember, this is false, okay? Because you can make an acceptance on a revoked offer if the revocation has not been communicated to you, right? If you offer me something and before I accept it, you revoke it. But the problem is I didn't know that you have revoked it. You have failed to communicate it to me. If you didn't tell me that you have revoked the offer and I accept it, what will happen? I'll be bound. Both of us will be bound by the offer, right? So therefore, the acceptance of P is of an 8th October amounts to a valid acceptance, right? So therefore, this is correct. Right, so 1 and 2 are the only answers. Okay, only 1 and 2. X offered to sell his property to Y, and the offer letter stated that this offer is to be left over until Friday 9 a.m. So there's a time duration. After Friday 9 a.m., the offer will expire. However, on Thursday, X sold this property to Z. Y learned about the contract between X and Z from B, a reliable source as far as Y was concerned. The following statements are related to the above scenario. Okay, a valid offer has been made by X. Yeah, X offered to sell his property to Y. He made a valid offer. The offer to Y does not lapse until 9 a.m. Friday. Yeah, 9 a.m. Friday. The expiry date is until then the offer is valid. Yes. Y cannot accept X's offer as it has already lapsed due to the sale of property to Z. Yeah, that's also true. Y cannot accept X's offer as it has already. The offer to Y does not lapse until 9 a.m. on Friday. Okay, so this is also correct. As the offer is open till 9 a.m., this property cannot be sold to Z before that. No, it can be sold even though there's expiry period. Before that, you can sell your property. Okay. Let me check. 1, 2, 3. We only have 2 answers. No, we have to eliminate one. Offer to Y does not lapse until 9 a.m. Friday. Okay. Here, there's a slight mistake here. The offer to Y. Okay. Right. Now, in here it says Friday 9 a.m. That is true to a certain extent. But the problem is, it's a very tricky question. Okay. This is correct. The statement is correct. Okay. Remember this. Okay. The second statement is correct. The offer to Y does not lapse until 9 a.m. on Friday. Right. But with regard to the above scenario, now there's a story here. No? He has already sold the property. So with that in mind, we have to understand. Did they make a valid offer? A valid offer has been made by X. Yes, X made a valid offer. And can Y accept the offer now? He can't. Why? Because X has already sold the property to someone called Z. Okay, as it has already lapsed due to sale of property Z. Yes. And so even though second one is correct, it's not relevant to the scenario. Statement is correct, but with the scenario, it has already lapsed. The offer to Y does not lapse until 9 a.m. on Friday. No, it will lapse if the offerer, that is X, sells it to someone else, then the offer is lapsed. Here, offer to Y, okay? Offer to Y. The offer made to Y technically it won't lapse. Technically it won't expire. If it is kept like that, it will continue until 9 a.m. Friday. But the problem is it has already been sold on Thursday. Then that offer made by X to Y to keep it until Friday cannot be fulfilled. So therefore, on Thursday, when he sold the property, offer made to Y also disappeared. Okay, it was also, we call it lapsed or expired. Okay, so even though second one is technically correct, it's not relevant to the scenario. Okay, so the more accurate answers would be only 1 and 3. Okay, 1 and 3. I hope it's clear. Okay, if you have any questions, please ask. In the eyes of the law, a valuable consideration to one party may consist of either sum. Now here, of course, it's very easy. Okay, it's simply the last one. Right, title, interest, or benefit, everything. All these 4 words are used. Valuable consideration to one party consists of the right, title, interest, or benefit. Okay, not just one or the other. 15. The following statements are in relation to consideration. Consideration has to be adequate but need not be sufficient. Yes. As long, if I'm selling a product to you worth 100 rupees, it doesn't always have to be equal to 100 rupees. It can be maybe 50. I can sell it to 50 also. That's why I say it has to be adequate, sufficient. It should be sufficient. Doesn't have to be, sorry, it just has to be adequate, enough, but need not be sufficient. It doesn't have to be equal. Okay. Okay, so this first one is correct, right? Past consideration is not a consideration. Yeah. Consideration must move from the promise. Consideration must move from the promise. Technically, yes. Yeah, must move from the promise. Consideration is an essential requirement. 1, 2, 1, 3, and 4. Consideration is an essential requirement of valid contract under English law. Yeah, under English law, consideration is not an essential requirement. No, Roman law it is, okay. I mean, it's a essential requirement. Okay, it's a requirement, it's a element, right? But there are other factors, okay, apart from consideration, right? That means even without consideration, you can sell. For example, out of love to your children, or children might give something to their parents. Parents might give the what we call this the house to the children. Right? When they are gifted, they don't take money. Right? So there is no consideration in that, in those contracts. Even that is a contract. The mother or the father is transferring the ownership to the children. Okay. So understand. So therefore, consideration is an essential requirement of a valid contract under English law. Right. It is a element. Remember, though, it is an element. But based on the given answers, only 1, 2, and 3 are the most possible answers. Okay. Fourth one is not a possible answer. Only 1, 2, and 3. Friends, if you do have a question, send to this group. Okay. Some are sending me messages also. Okay. Right. The law protects certain persons with specified contractual disabilities by denying them full contractual capacity. Given below are some of these persons. Right. We have minors, persons who have unsound mind, drunkards and prodigals, persons who are insolvent, persons who are above the age of 70. Remember, the law will protect certain people because from contractual disabilities. That means the law is saying these people don't have full contractual capacity, right? Do minors have contractual capacity? No, they don't, right? That means technically these are some persons protected. Minors are protected. That means they can't enter into contracts. Unsound people, drunk people, prodigals, yes, they are protected. Persons who are insolvent, like bankrupt, you can't enter into contracts. So these 3 kind of people can't enter into contract. Minors can enter into contract if they have a guardian or if it's for a education or training. Okay, other than that, they can't simply enter on their own. Persons who are above the age of 70 years, no, that age doesn't matter. I mean, age only matters for minors. If you are above 18, that means you are an adult. in Sri Lanka, it doesn't really matter. After that, you can have any contract you want. Then the age won't be a limiting factor above if you're above 18. So the correct answers are 1, 3, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. The following are relating to instances where the law treats the minority of a person as having come into an end. Upon attaining the age of majority age of 16 years. No, it's majority age is majority means the age which you become an adult. In Sri Lanka, it's 18 years. So therefore, this is not the answer. Upon the granting of the letters of Vinaya Itatis, Vinaya Itatis is a Latin term. What we do in here is that certain there's a culture in other countries. Okay, when you are, if you want to move out of the family, okay, the head of the family will give you a letter granting you right emancipation, right? That means technically saying that you are an adult, okay, something like that, right? So yeah, upon the marriage of the minor, again it depends, right? Now minors can't get married, okay, so it's a question mark here. Okay, minors can't get married upon the attaining of puberty by a minor. Yeah, Muslims of course, yes, okay. So in here, based on the answers they have given, only one. First one is wrong. Only the fourth one, no, there are other possible answers. Only 2 and 4. I would go with 2 and 4. Yeah. And only 2, 3, and 4. Remember, students, on the marriage of a minor, minors can't get married. Okay. If the minor has to get married, it has to be 18. But now, for example, there are other like the Muslim law and all. It's not like a minor. Now, when we say minor, it can be male or female, right? 18 is not the mandatory age of marriage for under the Muslim law, but under Roman Dutch law, yes, right? So therefore, the question doesn't specifically say any type of law also. So we can ignore this one. On the marriage of the minor, minors can't get married, right? So we can consider it as wrong. We have two possible answers, 2 and 4. So only 2 and 5. I would go with only 2 and 4. Okay. The following are relation to the unfair contract terms. The UCTA. That UCTA imposes limits on the extent to which civil liability for a breach of contract can be avoided by contract terms. Applies to many types of contracts, including contracts of insurance, land, intellectual property. UCTA gives protection to consumers. UCTA mostly applies to business liabilities as defined in the UCTA. Here, of course, they don't do this. Okay, UCTA doesn't give any limitation about civil liability. Okay, but it does apply to many contracts and protection to consumers and apply to business liabilities. Okay, these three are correct. Right. Hold on. But in here, let me check. UCT imposes limits on the extent to which civil liability for a breach of contract can be avoided. Oh, sorry. Here there's a small minor error. Okay, I made a small error here. That is can be avoided. Can be avoided by contract. Yeah, there are certain liabilities which you can avoid by contract term that you can impose a limit under UCTA. Right. Therefore, this one, yes, this is correct. Right. But UCT applies to many types of contracts. The problem is there are contracts of insurance and intellectual property have another, there's another act. So I remember unfair contract terms mainly apply to commercial contracts. Okay. So this is actually depends, right? It applies to a certain extent, right? It doesn't, the answer is very vague, right? It applies to many types of things, right? But not necessary to these contracts of insurance, because you can limit many things, right? Liability can be limited. Unfair contract terms act is a act that helps us to, it tells us how to limit liability, right? But when it comes to insurance, they can put any clause saying that if you have breached the principles of insurance, we will not be liable. We will not pay you our part of the agreement, right? So it is a question, depends, right? To a certain extent, we have to see there can be case laws in the future also where no one has argued from this point of view, right? So it's a question mark here, but it does give protection to consumers. Yeah. Applies to business liabilities as defined in UCA. Yeah, right. So these are all mainly correct, but 1, 3, and 4 would be much better, right? 1, 3, and 4 would be the better answers, right? 19. X and Y entered into a contract where X agreed to pay Z upon Y. X agreed to pay Z upon Y performing a specific task. So Y performed the task, but X did not pay Z. Under blank, Z cannot enforce X's obligation to pay Z, as Z was not a party to the original contract. Now here, of course, it's they're talking about the doctrine of privity. Okay. Doctrine of privity or doctrine of privity says only the people in the contract can sue or be sued against each other. Okay, if only me and you are in the contract, a third party cannot file a case against us. Okay, that's the idea, right? In some instances, a court will not grant relief under the principle of unjust enrichment. The following statements are in relation to such instances. Normally, when a party makes a payment or delivery under mistake of law, in some instances, the court will not grant under the principle of unjust enrichment. The following statements are in relation to such instances. When a party make a payment or delivery under a mistake of law, yeah, if it's just a mistake of law, of course, then yeah, you cannot grant relief by it's a mistake of law, right? Not a mistake of fact, mistake of law, right? It's a reliable defense. Okay, so therefore you cannot, if you it's a fair defense. If I have mistaken the law, not knowing the law, I have mistaken the law. I mixed up a little bit of the laws, right? When there is an error arising from the gross negligence, there are, of course, students, again, gross negligence, yeah, huge negligence, okay, to a certain extent, yes. When the right to recover has not been specifically renounced, when there was knowledge that the debt was due at the time of payment. In some instances, court will not grant relief. In some instances, under the principle of unjust enrichment, right? Now, the most possible two answers, I would say 1 and 2, right? 3 and 4 are not relevant yet when the right to recover has not been specifically renounced. And when there's knowledge that the debt was due at the time of payment, right? Not relevant to the question to a certain extent. Okay, so 1 and 2 are the answers. 1 and 2 are the most possible answers. 21. Which of the following is an instance where specific performance of the contract may be granted by a court of law as a remedy for breach of contract? If you have questions, you can send here. Okay. Which of the following is an instance where specific performance of the contract may be granted by a court of law as a remedy for a breach of a contract? Specific performance is granted when damages are not adequate. Okay. When normally you don't have enough damages. I mean, damages means money. When you can't compensate the mistake done by like paying money, court will order the person who broke the promise to fulfill the promise. Right? Go and do what you promised. Right? Paying money is not enough. Something like that. Right? 22. The following are instances where contract will be discharged or terminated by the merge of an inferior right of the contract with the superior right due to the insolvency of file of the contract or the offerer, due to the lapsing of the prescribed period, yes, of contract will be discharged, by the performance of the contract by the parties. Here, of course, by the merge of an inferior right of the contract with a superior right. merging of two rights. Yeah, that's a possible discharge. Let's see the answers again. Only 3 due to the lapsing of the no, not only 3, only 1, no, not only 1, only 1 and 2. Due to the insolvency of, I know 1 and 2 is not the answer anyway, right? So we have only one, insolvency of either offerer. Right? This is not the only answer. By the performance of the contract by the party is also an answer. Right? So only 1, 2, and 3. By the performance of the contract by the parties, discharged or terminated. Here the wording actually the wording used is very misleading because sometimes the contract is discharged. When we say contract is discharged, it might mean completed also. So in that sense, performing the contract is also correct. Okay. But here, as they have used the word terminated, because they are trying to explain one meaning, discharged or terminated. So the main idea that they're trying to tell is contract is terminated, not completed. Okay, breach of contract. Right. So if you have performed the contract won't be breached. So 4 is not the answer. Right? If you perform the contract is not breached. They're talking about instance where the contract will be breached by the merge of an inferior right of the contract with a superior right. So inferior right merging with a superior right. Contract is discharged. Okay. Yes, to a certain extent. Due to insolvency of either the offer or the offer. Yeah, of course, that will come, right? I mean, second one will be reason. Due to the lapsing of the prescribed period. Yeah. Right. So 1, 2, and 3 would be the most suitable answers here. Okay. Fourth one won't be coming because it's when you have performed the contract, you have fulfilled the contract. Okay. You of course very unfortunate for people. Yeah, discharge means similar meaning of performance. Okay. Right. Anyway, 1, 2, and 3 are the most suitable answers in my opinion. Okay. Right. 23. Only 2 more questions for contractor, then we'll move on to sale of goods ordinance. Okay. Remember, after that, if we do have time, let's discuss the rest. Right. Thereafter, I will share my contact details. You all have to complete this kit. Right. You have to complete the revision kit and send it to me. Right. If you want, you can check the answers after completing it. But let's say while doing this, you have issue. You can't understand why that answer is the answer. Then you have to ask me. Okay. So that's your task. That's I'm helping you to start studying actually. Right. So remember that. X and Y enter into a contract where X agrees to supply lunch packets to Y on a daily basis for 5 months. After 2 months, they both agreed through another contract to terminate the first contract. In the given scenario, the first contract has been terminated by novation, the merge of the rights and the second contract, agreement of the parties. X and Y entered into a contract where X agrees to supply lunch packets. After 2 months, they both agreed. Here, this is a keyword. They both agreed through another contract to terminate the first contract. That means through this contract, okay, they terminated this contract. So it's an agreement of the parties. Parties have agreed to terminate the agreement. Agreement of the parties. First contract has been terminated by agreement of the parties. Frustration here. Frustration means when you are, right, the question says frustration. Okay. Frustration means when both parties can't complete their work. If both parties can't complete their work, that's frustration, right? Nobody's at fault. I can't do because it's impossible for me to do. Maybe floods, I can't deliver the goods to you, right? Or maybe floods in your area, I can't reach you. None of it is our fault. Okay? But agreement of the parties, we both agree to end our contract that we had. Simple as that. 24. Last one. Given below are some contracts which are considered as illegal contracts under common law. The contract to commit a crime. Yeah, of course it's illegal. A contract to commit a crime is illegal. The contract to terminate an existing commercial contract. No. This is not a crime. The contract to terminate a commercial contract is not wrong. It's not illegal. It's a legal contract. A contract to promote sexual immorality is illegal. The contract that promotes corruption in public life is illegal. So 1, 3 and 4 are illegal contracts. Question says which are considered as illegal contracts. So 1, 3 and 4 are illegal. So D, 1, 3 and 4. They are illegal contracts. Okay. Right. Now let's move on to sale of goods ordinance. Right. If you do have any questions, you can ask me, but let's move on to sale of goods ordinance. Okay. Right. Now I'll be mainly discussing. I discussed the contract law part. Okay, certain questions. Right. Now remember there can be other more. The revision kit of course covers a huge area of the contract law. That's true. But I want you to go through your syllabus well. Okay. If you don't have any resource material, you can even take the Chartered Institute, the book issued by Chartered Institute. That's also fine. That's also it has sufficient knowledge for you to study. Okay, if you're studying from that, good. It's fine. Okay. Now I'll be doing sale of goods ordinance, right? Once I am done with sale of goods ordinance, right? I want you to continue the revision kit, right? At least by this week, try to do the revision kit, and then you can send it to me. I'll help you out there, right? If you have any questions, then you can ask me. And that's how it's gonna go. So it's a student-centered approach, right? I'm gonna start. I started the kit, the revision kit, and then I'm gonna hand over the baton to you. Right, so then you have to try and do it alone, the rest of the questions, right? Now I explained to you like how we can identify certain answers, how we can eliminate the answers, and whatever remains you can consider as the answer, right? But remember to do all these things, you have to read the question and the answer carefully, both the question and the answers carefully. Okay. Right. Chapter 3, sale of goods ordinance. Sale of goods ordinance applies to most of the following goods: all movable items. Yeah, movable items, yes, it applies to them. Money, to a certain extent, money also possible. Crops which are grown on the land and agreed to be severed and sold, yes, it definitely applies to crops which are grown on land and agreed to be severed and sold. All immovable items, no, it doesn't apply to immovable items normally, right? Immovable means the land and building. Land and building is not governed by sale of goods ordinance. So this is wrong, right? So for sale of goods ordinance, I would say the answer would be only money also we can't take because it's not a good. It's a instrument that we use to trade. So 1 and 3 is the possible answers. Only 1 and 3. Second one, most of the following are elements required to form a contract of sale of goods under the sale of goods ordinance. Most of the elements are required to form. We need a buyer and a seller, yes. Right. Now remember, these not contract, these sale of goods ordinance. Okay, that is after the contract. Okay, so you need a seller and a buyer, and as per the to make a contract of sale of goods, you need a seller and a buyer. Yeah, you need goods both movable and immovable. No, you only need movable because only movable is applied under sale of goods ordinance. Immovable property do not come under sale of goods ordinance. A money consideration called the price. Yeah, definitely you need money consideration. Transferring of the property in the goods. Yes. So 1, 3, and 4. Do you have 1, 3, and 4? Yeah. 1, 3, and 4. Okay. Third one, the following statements are in relation to the existing and future goods. One of the classifications of goods, one of the classifications of goods in a contract for sale of goods is existing and future goods. Yeah, one of the classifications are existing and future goods. There's existing goods, there's future goods. Okay. Existing goods are those which will be owned and possessed by the seller after the making of the contract for sale. No, existing goods are owned by the seller, owned and possessed by the seller at the time of making the contract, not after the making the contract, not after. Okay, he possessed them at the time. Okay, so therefore the given statement is this one is wrong. Okay, second one is wrong. Because existing goods are available at the time of the contract of sale, not after. Future goods are those which are to be manufactured or acquired by the seller after making. Yeah, future goods are after making the contract. Sorry. Future goods after making the contract. So 1 and 3. Contract for the present sale of future goods is created as sale of goods. No. A contract for the present sale of future goods. It's an agreement to sell, not a sale of goods. It's an agreement to sell. Contract for the present sale of future goods. It's an agreement to sell. Okay. So 1 and 3 are the answers, right? One and 3. Okay. The following statements are in relation to various types of goods. Specific goods are the goods identified and agreed upon at the time of contract of sale is made. Yes. These are definitions of specific goods. Ascertained goods are the goods that are identified and agreed upon after entering a contract of sale of goods. Ascertained goods are the goods that are identified and agreed upon after entering a contract of sale. Goods identified at the time of after entering into a contract of sale. Remember, ascertained goods become specific goods in the future, right? Unascertained goods are the same as specific goods. No. Future goods are goods that will be manufactured or acquired by the seller at the time of making the contract of sale. No, it's after making the contract of sale. Ascertained goods are the goods that, remember one thing, students, I'll make a small clarification here, even though the answer is like this. Specific goods are agreed and identified at the time of the sale. Ascertained goods are agreed only, not yet identified. Okay. It is identified after, after you identify ascertained goods, it becomes specific goods, right? So in here, small, the answer is actually 1 and 2, right? I understand what the question examiner is trying to ask here, right? But the way they have asked is wrong. Okay, I have to tell it specifically. Ascertained goods means goods that are agreed only, not yet identified, right? So what they mean here is the goods that are identified and agreed upon after entering into a contract of sale. Okay, so what they are trying to sell is after you enter into the contract, they have identified. Okay, that's the idea here, right? But remember that technically, ascertained goods means what? Goods that are not yet identified. They are agreed upon only, not yet identified. Okay, that's the definition, right? Anyway, 1 and 2 are the most possible answers. Anyway, 3 and 4 won't come. Okay, so we can go with 2. A sale of 200 kilograms of potatoes, which are to be grown on a piece of land, is a contract of sale. Contract for the sale of, that would be 200 kilo. It's unascertained goods, right? No? Sale of 200. They are specified. If not, then no problem. There's a description, which are to be grown on a piece of land. Is a contract for sale of future goods, right? It's a future goods, okay? To be manufactured, to be produced here. Okay, so future goods. 6th one. X formed a contract with Y to buy 20 boxes of fish from Y. Y loaded 190 boxes into a train with the instructions that 20 boxes were to be dealt. Now remember here, X formed a contract with Y to buy 20 boxes. The problem is Y loaded how many boxes? He loaded 90 boxes. That means, do we know from these 90 boxes, okay, which 20 boxes belong to Y? Out of the 190 boxes, which 20 boxes belong to Y? We do not know. He simply told with the instructions that 20 boxes were to be delivered to X. Okay, so now when Y loaded the 190 boxes, in that 190 boxes, the 20 boxes belong to X, but we don't know which boxes. Right? They are not marked yet. Right? If the question doesn't say they are marked. So this is a contract for the sale of unascertained goods. It will become ascertained only when they are marked. Now these 20 boxes are for X and you separate it. You allocate it, you appropriate it. Only when that is done, only when an appropriation is done, okay, the good will become ascertained. Unascertained goods, once it's appropriated, once it's earmarked, and once it's separated, that these goods belong to someone else, then it becomes ascertained. Until then, those goods are unascertained. Okay? So answer here is unascertained. Okay, because we don't know out of the 190 boxes, which boxes belong to X. Which 20 boxes? We don't know. Okay. Right. Then question number 7. Okay, 7, 8, 19, they are telling us to put it in the correct cage. Right. The contract to sell 100 tons of wheat, which is to be harvested from a field next year. I just put the answers in here. Okay. Contract to sell 100 tons of wheat, which is to be harvested from a field next year. So not yet produced. Remember, normally unascertained goods go under the category of future goods. So I would put 7 here. Right. And 8 is a contract to sell a second-hand tractor, which will have to be acquired by the seller prior to the sale. So contract to sell a second-hand tractor, which will have to be acquired by the seller before selling. That means, let's say both of us have agreement. I have to acquire the good, even though we have the agreement. At the time of making the contract, I don't have the good. Okay. So it's a specific good. Second-hand tractor is a specific good, not yet to be produced. No, it's already existing, right? Therefore, it's a specific good, right? But the problem is it's in the future. I don't have it right now. After we make the contract, I have to go and obtain it from somewhere. So it's a specific good, okay? But in the future, right? It's an agreement to sell. I would say it's an agreement to sell, right? The contract to sell a book which is ordered from an internet bookseller. It's again unnecessary. We don't know which book is mine. There can be 1,000 copies in online, 1,000 copies, but which one is mine? I don't know, and it's yet to be manufactured maybe. Okay, so 9. The purchase of a packet of flour taken from the shelf in a supermarket markets is a specific good and it's existing. Specific and existing, right? So these are how it goes, right? Specific and existing number 10. Future 1 is 8, uncertain 7 and 9. Okay, uncertain future. Okay. Right. Terms that are included in the contract for the sale of goods by mutual agreement of the parties are known as express terms. Here they are very easy answer here. If when we say express terms, implied terms won't come. Right? We wrong. Here given below are some classification of the express term. That means when we say express term, it should be written. What are things that can be in writing? Conditions are in writing. Normally, you put the conditions, you put the warranties. Implied terms is not in writing. It's not express. They are simply asking what is the opposite of express in this question. Opposite of express is implied terms, right? So technically, given below are some classifications. So classification of express term are implied conditions, warranties, and fundamental terms. Implied terms are the opposite. Okay. So therefore, implied terms won't be the answer. That means 1, 2, and 4 is the answer. 1, 2, and 4. Well, the following are in relation to the implied terms. The following are in relation to implied terms in a sale by sample, according to section 16(2) of the Sale of Goods Ordinance. The bulk of the goods should correspond with the sample in quality. Say, remember this is section 16(2). When we all remember when we are discussing section 16(2), it goes along with section 16(1). 16(1) and 2 goes together. Okay, 16(1), 16(2). You cannot ignore 16(1) when we are talking about 16(2). Right. So 16(2) says the 16(2) and 16(1) alongside says the bulk of the goods should be corresponding with the sample in the quality. That is correct. Sample and quality should match. The buyer shall have a reasonable opportunity to compare the bulk with the sample. Yes, that's also true. And the goods should be free from any defect, which will make them unmerchantable. Right? Remember, this is not 15(2). 15(2) says goods shall be in merchantable order. Right? And that is 15(2). Wait, hold on. Put the wrong. Okay. Any defect in the goods should be obvious to the buyer upon a reasonable examination of the sample. Yeah, that's also coming as section 16 technically, right? In here, students, I suspect they might have missed one thing, and that is, but based on the answers, only 1 and 2 no. It should be 4 also. Then one only 3 and 4 no. Only 1, 2, and 3. Goods are free from any defect which will make them harmless. Yeah. Section 16.2 says when the goods are sold by a sample, the originals shall now, not the goods technically. It is the original goods. Okay, here what we refer should be free from any defect which will make them unmerchantable, right? So therefore, this is also an answer that comes under section 16.3. Sorry, 16.2, right? Any defect in the goods should be obvious to the buyer upon a even number 4 is an answer. Okay, even number 4 is an answer under section 16, but the correct ones would be, they are telling the correct, they are giving us the answers. No? So then they are only given 1, 2, and 3 as the 3 possible answers. Right here, 1, 2, and 3. So we can go with that. Okay. I feel that some questions they have asked, right? The way they have asked, it's not very accurate also, right? That's very unfortunate, right? Certain answers that they have given are, they have not used keywords, right? Simply, maybe I suspect that they have not understood the sections in this here, because it seems to me they have certainly mixed up, right? And they should have given number 4 also, because it's a reasonable examination, right? But 4 won't come because now in here the word any is here. That's why. See, simply one, because of one word, the number 4 won't come. It is only reasonable defect that can be identified from a reasonable examination. Simple defects, normal defects, not any defect. If it's a defect that cannot be identified to the naked eye, and if you can't just observe and then see the defect, but there's a defect, you have to do a test, and then only the defect is identified. So therefore, but here the word any defect is there, because it says any defect in the good should be obvious to the buyer upon a reasonable examination. No, all defects cannot, any defect cannot be obvious. No, there can be defects which are hidden, which cannot be seen to us. When we reasonably examine the sample and the material, maybe there's a defect. If there's a normal defect, maybe if it is observable, if we can normally see it, then it's fine. But we cannot see all defects, right? So therefore, this fourth one won't come as an answer. Therefore, we can go with 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Then 13. Of the following statements are in relation to the passing of property in unascertained goods. In contract for the sale of unascertained goods, the property in the goods is transferred to the buyer when the goods are ascertained. Yes, this is correct. Right? These are elements of unascertained goods, students. These elements are given. Okay. If you take check section 17, 17(1) and 2, and then section 19. Okay. Section 19 subsection section 19 rule number 5 specifically. Okay, that is what they have given here actually. Right, section 19 rule number 5. That's what they're talking about here. In a contract for the sale of unascertained goods, yeah, this is correct. In a contract for the sale of specific goods, where the seller, this is 19.5. In a contract for the sale of specific goods, where the seller is bound to do something for the goods for the purpose of putting them into a deliverable state. Now here it won't, the second one won't come as the answer here. Why? If they are talking about specific goods, but what is our question? Passing of property in unascertained goods. Right? We are not talking about specific goods here. So second one won't come as the answer. They are talking about specific goods. Our question is asking about unascertained goods. Therefore, this is wrong. Right? In a contract for the sale where the goods are delivered to the buyer on a sale or return basis, the property, this is next section 19 rule number 4. This is 19 rule number 4. The property passes to the buyer when he signifies his acceptance to the seller. Right? I would say unascertained goods Yeah. Okay, because section 19 rule number 4 talks about unascertained as well. When the goods are delivered to the buyer on a sale or return basis. Okay. Maybe when he sold or return, it doesn't have to be always specific. It can be unascertained goods that are sold on sale or return basis. Okay. So it's a possible answer. In an unconditional contract for sale of specific goods in a deliverable state, the property in the goods passes to the buyer when the contract is made and it is immaterial with the time of payment is postponed. Right. Now, I again have an issue with the question here, students. Okay. Now, these remember these are the revision kit given by Chartered Institute itself. Right now, here see now they are talking about the question about what passing of property in unascertained goods. The only answer about unascertained goods are only number 1. This is the only one. Others are not about unascertained goods. Section 19, so rule number 5 talks about unascertained goods. Okay, others are not talking. Others are about specific goods. 19 rule number 4 to a certain extent, yes, can be about unascertained goods, right? But here, let me check where they have given me only one, right? Others are actually wrong, but they have not given that answer, right? So therefore, only 1 and 3. Right, I would say only 1 and 3 is the right because 1 and 4 cannot be an unconditional contract for the sale of specific goods in a deliverable state. The property in the goods passed to buy. No, this is rule number 1. Say relation passing of property in unascertained goods, right? I don't understand why the institute has not understood the law properly here, students. Okay, the question itself is wrong. Okay, in this revision kit. Now, unfortunately, you might get certain questions which are actually not accurate, right? I have quite found, I'm telling it, publicly also, some questions are not accurate, right? Now, this one is talking about unascertained goods. You can see the word itself, right? Even the sale of goods ordinance talks about unascertained goods, specifically rule number, section number 19, rule number 5. Rule number 19.1, they are talking about specific goods. 2 also specific goods. 3 also specific goods. 4 they are talking about depends, right? Might be specific, might be unnecessary goods, right? So here the possible answers are I can go with this one because they have given 1 and 3. Okay, I can only go with 1 and 3. 4 won't come. Okay, 4 won't come, right? So I can go with 1 and 3, right? That's the only solutions that I have, right? Marking scheme, I'm not sure about what they might say, but the accurate one be 1 and 3. Yeah, this fourth one is about specific goods. Here you yourself can see sale of specific goods, not to sale of unnecessary goods. Okay, right, and also unnecessary goods can never become specific goods. The only thing that they can become is ascertained, right? So therefore, I cannot accept this. And even the question now, this is wrong. No, see, question number is also wrong. It says 5 here, right? 1, 2, 3, 5, right? No 4, right? So it's a mistake by the institute. Okay, students here, right? This is a mistake by the institute. This question is wrong, and the answers given are also wrong, and the question numbers are also wrong, right? So you might not get like that. You might get the updated ones, right? But this is the revision kit that they have passed us to us. Even the revision kit, some areas they have not understood. Okay, unfortunate, right? Anyway, let's move on to the next one then. Anil imported a Honda CRV 2020 Jeep through its local agent. When placing the order, Anil specifically mentioned that the vehicle should contain an original Honda music setup. But when the vehicle arrived, Anil realized that what was fixed to the vehicle was not an original Honda, right? What is the type of term that the seller has failed to meet in this contract? Anil imported a Honda CRV 2020 Jeep through its local range. When placing the order, Anil specifically mentioned that the vehicle should contain an original Honda. He, of course, remember now, you can't cancel the agreement and return the car now. Why? Yes, anyway, you wanted a Honda CRV 2020, so you have got the car. Okay, Anil has got the car, but the problem is Anil has not got the Honda music setup. He wanted original Honda music setup, but it was not an original. It is Honda music setup, but not original. Okay, so it's not a breach of condition. If you have breached a condition, you can terminate the agreement and claim damages also. But it's a warranty. Yeah? It's only a warranty. You can only claim damages. Yeah, I requested for original Honda setup, music setup. You have not given me an original, right? So pay me money now. I cannot return the car back to you saying I don't want the car, right? I'll have to keep the car, but I can claim damages for not following my specific instructions. Okay, so it's a warranty. 15. Anil imported a Honda CRV 2020 Jeep through its local agent. The seller delivered to Anil a Honda Civic car instead. So Honda Civic car instead of Honda CRV Jeep. Right now, here of course it's completely like, right. So it's a fundamental term here. Right? It's a fundamental term, right? And it's a condition as well. Okay. Now you can't underline condition and fundamental term both. But go with fundamental term. One of the basic terms is, right, he wanted a Honda CRV 2020 Jeep. That is the term. I want Honda CRV 2020 Jeep. He didn't order a Honda Civic car, but he got a Honda Civic car. So that's wrong. It's a breach of fundamental term, right? Remember, they're asking in relation to the term that was breached, okay? But in my opinion, it is a condition breach. It is a condition, but can be a fundamental term. It's like a fundamental term. Fundamental term is the first thing, and because of the fundamental term has been breached, it's a breach of condition. That's the result. Okay, but the accurate answer is fundamental term. Okay. Answer question 16 to 18 based on the information given below. The following are some of the rules for ascertaining the intention of the parties as to the time at which the property in the goods is to pass to the buyer. Now here they are asking about the section 19 rules. Okay. Under section 19 rule number 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, blank. In an unconditional contract for sale of specific goods, deliverable state, property in the goods passed to the buyer when the contract is made, immaterial time of payment. This is what rule number 1, section 19, rule number 1. That is the answer. Okay, that is actually the definition here, right? If you all have, these are literally the definition. That if you have studied, you will know this. Sale of specific goods, and the seller is bound to do something for the goods for the purpose of putting them into a deliverable sale. Section 19, rule number 2. Okay, section 19, rule number 2. These are definitions, students. Okay. If you have to measure something, yeah, contract for sale of specific goods, where the seller is bound to weigh, measure, or test. That's section 19, rule number 3. Right. Select the correct statement in relation to the rule of Nemodat Kodnan Habit. Now remember, students, one student actually recently asked me this. Okay, the rule is no one can give what he doesn't have. But one student pointed out to me, right, when I was discussing this in my physical classes, one student pointed this out to me and told that the marking scheme, right, in the revision kit itself says B is the answer. That is wrong. Okay, that is not the answer. Right, Nemodat Kodnan Habit. That's a Latin term. The meaning, the correct statement, the meaning of that meaning is that no one can give what he doesn't have. If I don't have ownership, I can't give the ownership to you. If I don't have ownership of my phone, I can't give ownership of that phone to you by selling it to you. If I am not the owner of the phone and I sell it to you, you won't become the owner. Why? I didn't have ownership. You can't get ownership. That's the rule, right? A thief can give a good title to the purchaser. No, I can't agree with this. Okay, so A is the answer for 19. Okay, then 20. The following statements are in relation to the remedies available to a buyer against a seller who has breached a contract for sale of goods. To maintain an action for damages for delivery of goods, we have to see remedies for whom are remedies available to a buyer against the seller. So technically, to maintain an action for damages, I would say, yeah, for non-delivery of goods, the buyer can go to that. To maintain action for damages for non-acceptance is the remedy of the seller against the buyer. Here they are asking the question, remedy of the buyer against the seller. Okay, so second one is not the answer. To maintain action for the recovery of the price of the goods. Yeah, you can recover the price of the goods. Huh? When the property in the goods has passed on. Here the question says when. No, not when the property has passed, even before that. Okay. To maintain action for damages. Yeah. That is far more accurate. Right. So 1 and 4. Do we have 1 and 4? Yeah. Okay. Right. The last few ones. Okay. The sale of goods ordinance allows an unpaid seller, US, of goods to exercise certain rights. Now they are asking the rights of unpaid seller. You can return the rights of the goods for the price. If yeah, that's correct. A right of stopping the goods in transit, yes. A limited right of reselling the goods. After parting to the it's a right of stopping the goods. A limited right of reselling the goods. After parting with the possession of the goods, right of stopping the goods in transit after the same thing, right? After parting with the possession of the goods, the US cannot exercise the right of stopping of the goods in transit. No. After parting with possession of the goods only, you can exercise the right of stoppage. Okay. Right of stopping is available only when you let go of the goods and you realize the buyer is bankrupt. Then you can stop the goods halfway. Okay. Stoppage in transit and bring back the goods. So 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Right. 22. The last two questions. Okay. The following statements are in relation to the remedies available to an unpaid seller when there is a breach of contract by the buyer. If the seller is unpaid, what can you do? Well, technically there are, they have given 3 things. Same thing again, right? You can maintain an action for the recovery of the price of the goods. Unpaid seller, yeah, to recover the money that you owe. To maintain an action for damages for non-acceptance of delivery. Yeah, you have sent the goods, the buyer is not accepting the goods, right? To maintain action for damages for non-deliver. Non-deliver is your part. Delivery means your duty. So you have delivered, he has not accepted. So third one will come. The right of stoppage in the goods in transit. Yes. These are regarding remedies of the seller. Okay, unpaid seller. It's in the sale of goods ordinance. Right. So these 3. So what technically 1, 2, and 4. Yeah. Okay. So last one. The following statements are in relation to sale of goods. Future goods are acquired or manufactured by the seller after making the contract of sale. That the buyer is that the bulk of the goods should correspond to a sample as well as a description in an implied, yeah, it's an implied condition, right? I'll mark the correct one. Future goods are acquired after making the contract should connect in the sample shall be equal to the description as well as the original product, sample and original product. The general rule stating that a contract of sale of unnecessary goods is that the property in the goods is not transferred to the buyer until the goods has a 10 years. Section 17 subsection 2. A contract of work and material is one where the contract is for the exercise of no. This is wrong. This is regarding something else. So 1, 2, and 3. Only 1, 2, and 3. These are the answers. Right. Now, students, right? I'll be sharing with you my contact details, right? I'm on WhatsApp also, same number, right? What you are going to do is, right, you're going to try this paper, right? It's available online. If you don't, you can request it from me, but it's available online, right? I want you to continue this paper, right? I want you to, do the other aspects as well. Now, the way I did it, right? Certain answers and questions you have to identify and take. Certain ones you can ignore. Right? That means technically, if you think these are the wrong answers, ignore them, right? Ignore them, and then the only one that is remaining, that is the correct answer, right? And certain questions might ask what is untrue, what is not true also, right? Then also you have to understand on the other way around, right? So what matters is, right, you need to practice this here, right? You need to have thorough idea of the syllabus, whole syllabus, right? I did the most important two, okay? That doesn't mean you should only focus on only on these two, right? I gave you a sample idea of how to, focus on the question and the answer, how to read it properly, right? I want you to practice this revision kit, right? It's recommended by Charles. Practice it and go. If you have a doubt regarding why one answer is the correct answer, why the let's say why first one is the correct answer, why can't we take the third one, why can't we take the fourth one? If you have issue like that, definitely give me a send me a message, or with the question, definitely send the question, okay, or or a voice note or whatever. I'll always reply, right? So I think I don't want to drag it too much, right? Uh, I just want to give you an idea of how and what to do in this exam. The only thing is you need to practice it again and again. Time and practice. We only have limited material. You don't have much past papers. You only have like 2 or 3 model papers, right? And this revision kit. It's okay. Practice all those questions. There'll be like totally around 150 to 200 there, right? With the 2 model papers, 100, and with this one, closer to 200 to 220 questions, right? You need to practice all the questions, all the I think there are 2 or 3 model papers. Practice all the questions in the model papers as well as a revision kit, right? All, do not ignore everything, all, right? If you find it any area difficult, you can ask me now, right? If you have any question, you can ask me now, right? I'm going just 5 to 10 minutes for that, right? Does anyone have any questions? If you do, raise it now. If not, you can ask, contact me in this number and you can ask me, right? And yeah, I think that's enough for today. I wanted to continue, right? I want to do the rest of the past papers as well, the model papers. And anyway, thank you for listening. Let's wrap it up for today. Okay, and have a nice day.